Hey there, it is Jamie Riddler, and I am so excited to be here with you today. I am starting something new, and I'm so excited about it, and I hope you're going to be excited about it too. For years, I have hosted the Creative Living with Jamie podcast, and it has been a joy. I have interviewed some amazing people, including Julia Cameron, Natalie Goldberg, Brene Brown, people that are lights on the creative path that really have inspired us all. I've also always paid attention to artists at every stage of the journey, whether it was people starting their own creative business at home, people who are creative with their kids, people who are writing and publishing their own ebooks. Because one of the things I believe deeply is that we artists benefit so deeply from showing up for one another as artists by engaging in creative conversation, by sharing strategies and tools. And so I'm going to continue this process, but with a bit of a shiftaroo. And that is, I am making the show video and I am expanding its scope. Now, Creative Living with Jamie is going to draw in other shows that I've done, the Creative Living Bookshelf. The behind the scenes, as well as these interviews, and so much more are going to become segments of this show. I'm going to share it with you on video and I'm going to share it with you as a podcast. And so, most importantly, I'm going to share it from my creative heart to yours. This is new and there's going to be a lot of growth involved, and that will mean crunchy bits and exciting bits and change and wonder and adventure. And that is what living a creative life is all about. So I hope you'll join me on this journey. Today, I'm going to share with you my very first interview in this format with the marvelous Sam Tucker. Sam describes herself as a storyteller, and she uses both words and images. She's currently working on a long-term project. It is an illustrated memoir and a storybook that chronicles her journey through grief of losing a partner while wandering the country on an epic road trip. Sam shares that she has kept her creative dreams hidden in the shadows of a vibrant business consulting practice. And so, this journey to embracing her artistry, which is the essence of who she is, was a long and meaningful one. It's included visual journaling, bookbinding, collage, and all different forms of writing. I know she's going to share so much with you. She's going to inspire you, and we're going to go deep because that's just who Sam is. An artist, a writer, a deep thinker, a beautiful soul, and I'm so excited to share this conversation with you. Everybody, I am so excited to be here with Sam Tucker and to introduce her to you. She is just a shiny, glowing, deep, warm artist. In fact, Sam, I was just thinking about, I recently heard a saying that is, come and sit by my fire. And it's been one of the major inspirations for me right now. And I just think you have that energy about you. Like when somebody meets you, they just want to come and sit by your fire.
I love that. That is such a beautiful image for me. Wow.
Awesome. Why don't we start off with you sharing with everybody a little bit about you and about what your creative life looks like?
Well, hi everyone. I'm so excited to be here with Jamie. I'm Sam Tucker. I have landed on the descriptor, I'm a storyteller. And right now, that's in words and images. And who knows, it's an ever evolving thing for me. My creative life right now is completely and has been for a couple of years immersed in a book. And that book is a memoir, it's illustrated, and it's also a storybook. And it's from a very special time in my life where I was wandering the country for a year, effectively just landing in a spot for 30 days, moving on and collecting people's stories, moving through the grief of losing my wonderful husband and working remotely and exploring. It was an outer exploration and an inner exploration. And I think that's why this current creative practice is taking a while, because it's tender, it's a tender time. It's my story, and it's trying to honor the stories of the people I met on the road who I fell in love with. So that's kind of what's happening with me.
I know that too this year you have been doing some adventuring and moving through the world. And I wonder for you, what's the relationship between I'm going to come back and ask you more because I know everybody wants to hear about what was it like doing that. But what do you think for you is the relationship between that sense of movement or that sense of place and your artistic self?
Beautiful question. I'm a Sag too.
Oh, yeah, me too. Yeah.
So, we have that horse energy. We really, for years I was stuck behind a desk and felt a piece of myself kind of dying inside. And that was doing, non-creative work. Movement for me, I don't know where it came from, Jamie, but I intuitively knew I had to leave Los Angeles after Freddie died. When I have things that need to move through me that are so deep that go to the core of my being, I need physical movement too. And I'm quite aware it's not about running away from anything. I take myself
Mm.
where I go. I'm very, very self-aware, but there's something about new expansion, pushing boundaries. I knew if I stayed, I could I could really pretend that everything was okay and I could keep going with the things that weren't working for me. And I just didn't know where this was going to lead me. But so physical movement, in a strange way, it does ground me by uprooting me. It's an enigma.
I get it. And I
Why?
can see it in I can see it in your body too. Like just when you express yourself, it's
Yeah.
like through that whole body movement. And that's what they
Mhm.
talk about when we're talking about embodiment. It's like you're embodying your journey, your feelings, your truth. I wonder, so I get that piece of like both that it was expansive and I imagine challenging at the same time as it was nourishing.
Every
Um,
day.
yeah, tell us about that because I think a lot of people are like, "Wow, what would it be like to just get up and go for a year, to process my own experience for a year, to be in my own self for a year?" What was that like? Tell us.
I just read a chapter about one aspect that shocked me. Is here you think it's like freedom, or you think you're a free spirit and you're going off. And I choose a city across the country and book an Airbnb for a month and immerse myself in it. But getting there, I wanted to control. I wanted to know where I was going. I wanted to know the end. And the whole purpose of this is to unfurl from that. Thank you, Megan Genge, for the word I use all the time. Um, and so that was at odds. And I don't think I realized it until I was writing the book. Like it didn't dawn on me that I was still trying to hang on to some semblance of who am I? What is my world? I purposefully ripped it all apart and started over in a totally new way while holding, the memories, the love, all of that with me. But I needed something new. Absolutely.
What do you think? I think that sense of control is a part of the way we manage that. Like we know that transformation is coming. And there's a part of us that wants to
Bring it
embrace
on.
it, but right? But what would you want somebody to know who is like they can feel they're on that cusp of whole body transformation, whole life transformation? What would you want them
I
to know?
I'm so excited for you. Breathe. Please breathe. And truly know I've been on this planet a few decades, and I know at this point it's all going to be okay. You know, we think the world is ending. We think that we can't push one more boundary, open one more door to the unknown. We can. And it's beautiful and expansive. And you will never have those experiences, that growth, those relationships, sometimes even careers, life altering experiences, unless we keep moving. And it doesn't have to be big and grandiose. It can be one baby step at a time, but don't give up. Don't give up. Just keep moving. If I can do it, you can do it. Trust me.
And for you, what role has your art had to play in this journey?
I'm going to back up just a little bit to
Yeah.
give a little bit of my history. Um, when I turned 6, my parents moved me to my 3rd state, 6th house, and it was a cult. And it looked kind of normal on the outside, and it was anything but that on the inside. And so I have been spending decades unfurling from, like, you could either rebel or you are the good girl. And I chose the latter. And so my art healed. It was through journaling, and then so the words, and then that wasn't enough. And I heard about this thing called art journaling, but I couldn't call it art journaling. I had to call it visual journaling because I wasn't an artist. And I would spend like weeks maybe laying paint on a few pages, and I would just doodle, and words would just like move through me, and they were words I needed to hear. There were things that weren't messages that weren't getting through to me, that had to come through another way. And that was really my introduction to painting, collaging, all of that. And it gave me permission because there were no rules. I could just do my thing, and it was for me. And it then expanded into 8 feet, rolls of craft paper, tarred and feathered. It was everything I felt that I had been growing up. So my art has been part of the healing. And fast forward to this current project, quite healing, to look back on, a journey that was so tender and exciting and scary and expansive, and making me want to go run in the corner and hide, but I didn't. It's empowering. It's healing. I think you cannot separate art, and I mean that in the broad spectrum, from dance, music, writing, whatever, your creative expression, from your life. They are intertwined. There is, I'll just speak for myself. I can't compartmentalize it. I tried that and it ripped me apart. I am a whole being, and I am best when I allow the creativity to flow through everything that I do, and let that guide, whatever my creative practice is, let that guide what my priorities are in my life. And I'm finally landing there.
Yeah, that moves me so deeply. And in the kind of work I do, I see repeatedly, like in especially in the program Devotion, which you've done, like
Mm,
seeing when we stop compartmentalizing, when we start accepting, when we start recognizing I am an artist and I move through the world as an artist. I experience life as an artist. I respond to life as an artist.
yes.
Suddenly we feel like fish in the right water or plants in the right environment. Ooh, and it becomes easier, not harder, easier.
Yes. Can we talk about devotion? Because
Yes.
that
Yes.
was huge, especially for this current project. But you're right. I was one of those women, but everyone in our circle, and it's a small group, what were there, 7 of us, something.
Yeah.
And each one of us was so timid and shy, but strong in being vulnerable. And we all brought it all to each session, and yet 2 a week. And the tremendous personal growth that was foundational and absolutely required for success, really, in the program. You cannot sit back and be kind of limp. You got to jump in, you got to grab it and go for it. And we saw that. And there were tears, there were laughter, there was, I mean, I still meet with these women, this particular women, a couple times a month, just for us to find out what we're doing, to share inspiration, to share books we're reading, That was over 2 years, well, around 2 years ago,
Yeah, around 2 years ago.
and incredible. But can I explain to them where I was at with the book?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so let's go back to that first summer of the pandemic. So it's the summer of 2020. And just a side note, I did consulting for a long time and I did it remotely. So I get a call. It's like this very lucrative, crazy making project. And I'm like, I should keep working. So I said yes. It was a Friday. I could not move physically from my chair for about an hour. All weekend, I was just like, that was my body. Talk about embodiment.
Mm.
I knew this was not the right thing for me. And I called Monday morning before they announced it. I go, I can't do this project. And they understood. That's when I decided I'm not going to work. I am going to focus and do an at-home residency and work on this book. And I knew that it was illustrated. I knew it was a memoir. I knew it was a storybook, and that's really all I knew. And I had so many notes. I had journals online. I had boxes of journals just from this, 4-year period. And I remember you and I having a coaching session about 4 months into that. And I'm like, I am spinning my wheel. I don't have clarity. And you gave me some great tips, but you came back to me and said, Sam, I want you to think about this. I'm starting an artist residency that will be overseen by me, and we'll meet twice a week. And I go, sign me up. The first week, so this is January of 2021, I believe. The first week after doing the assignments of really, what is your project? What is your why? You've done a lot of journaling to get to that point. I had the outline. Not every story had been identified, but I had the outline, what the illustration ideas would be. I knew that it was thematic. I knew there were 11 themes. Then I knew what they were, and I knew what most of the stories I wanted to tell were in there 1 week. And so that was, I could hand hold that. That was a map, right?
Right.
I had clarity. Now it's morphed a little bit, it's shifted a little bit, but that initial structure is still in place in the order I put it in for the themes. And where I stand now is that I have a few stories that still haven't been written, but I've gone through many, many edits, and I'll be going through many, many more each time, either going deeper, raw, or more vulnerable. And that's the exciting part of it. But honestly, I don't know how long it would have taken me without devotion. And I just want to kind of explain, I know you know why, but anyone who's listening who maybe has been stuck before, maybe you're stuck now. First of all, I've known Jamie for about a decade.
Yeah.
I'd say something like that. Maybe more, I don't know. Certainly been aware of you for longer than that. I trust you, and I trust that anything that you create a circle in is trustworthy, and that I have to show up as vulnerable as I can to get the most out of it. And why would I go through this if I didn't want to get the most out of it? So we had coaching sessions, and it wasn't just Jamie giving input. I was a novice artist deciding when to illustrate a book, right? It's like, duh. And so I could put questions out, and there were so many visual artists there who would give me great ideas, and I'd watch their process, and we shared our process. We had co-working sessions. We had, telling each other our updates, what worked, what didn't work, what resources we're using. I was in rural Mississippi in a town of less than 500 people. I had no people with me, near me. You could be anywhere in the world and have this wonderful, group of fellow creatives, all women, in a sacred space. And that's how we all referred to it. That's how we felt. We've talked about it offline about that it really was a sacred place because we all showed up. And I won't give away all your things, but we honored the work, we honored ourselves, and we honored each other. And that was
Yes.
so absolutely game changer. And I did mentorships after that. And I still go back and use the principles, the tools, you know. And when I have something,
Sam.
yeah, I might do it again, you know, something different. If I ever get out of this one, I'll go back. It was
I
worth it.
I just love thank you for sharing your story and the range of it too. And
Yeah.
the coming from, wow, that powerhouse of a moment when you said no to this gig and then you turned around and said yes to devotion, yes to your art.
Yeah.
And one of the things I really notice in you, Sam, is like you just exemplify some of the things I think are so key for artists and the artistic process, and you name them, is uh, showing up vulnerable. Like, one of the things I always say, and I learned this from my background in theater, the truth is always interesting. And so when we show up to our work with the truth and we show up to each other with the truth, that becomes sacred. Then we can learn from each other. Then we can grow together. And also, you're so brave. Like, it would be remiss to have a conversation with you without pointing out the bravery of your bold steps, your big decisions, your like willingness to go where you need to go in order to be who you need to be. And I'm so excited to have you share that with people because I
Yeah.
know that's
Thank you.
all. You're so welcome. And I know this is for people listening, they're like, dancing on that edge between, wow, it sounds amazing to be brave but it also sounds terrifying. And so what I want people to know is to see you here, radiant, full of life, creating rich and meaningful work. It is so would you I have an opinion, which is obviously clear, but would you say it's
I
all
like
been
yours.
worth it? Has it been worth
Oh,
it?
I have to say, everything in my life has been worth it because it brought me to this point now. And the crazy childhood to the amazing marriage to going on the road to, I mean, I've given away my possessions so many times. I pretty much have what'll stick in a Subaru. That's who I am because it always comes back in. I don't worry about that. I have the answer is yes. Yes, it's worth it. And why it is for me is I have lived enough years on this planet to know that I don't care what your belief system is, I know that everything's going to be okay. It may not end up the way I want. I may not have written the script the way it's going. And it took me years to say this, but my husband's death was the gift of giving me complete, and I won't ever have a conversation without using this word, complete agency over my life and my choices. You have to keep moving. You have to be fully expressing who you are. And that is sometimes tough. And I'm moving in for the close shot because I want you to know I have been there and I continue to be there. Every edit I go through the book, when it's a story about me, it's going places I necessarily would not have wanted to go, but I think it tells the story. And that's life.
That
It's
really
so
makes me think
great.
about how our art can sort of hold us to the fire in a way, right? Because it won't let us get away with copping out on the truth or sugarcoat. It's like it wants to be expressed in its realness,
Yeah.
and it asks something of us.
I think early on, years and years ago, I didn't really like editing and I didn't really, I just wanted to do the easy thing. And it's like, oh, honey, the juice is when you go in and you throw things out that aren't working and you put things in you never thought you would share. And you find a language that is almost like a dance. And it doesn't matter how vulnerable you are, it's going to impact someone. It's going to impact someone, and you may never know who that is.
Yes.
but you may change their life, the trajectory of their life with something that you shared that was tough, because nobody wants to talk about tough things, you know.
You referenced both this feeling of being who you are and also, being on the planet for a while. And
Mm,
I want to talk about that because this is not something I was anticipating, Sam, but me too. And I have struggled as a woman getting older and staying um, public and expansive. And, I'm also a recovering good girl. So, like, continuing to bust outside of the mold. And so I wanted to ask you two pieces of advice. One, to speak to women like us who are sort of in that stage of life. What advice do you have there? Like, what are you learning at this point in your life about how to show up in the world? And then the other piece is like looking back to the younger women, what would you say to them? Because I want us,
yeah,
this moves my heart. I
yeah.
want us to move into that position of the wise women who turn back and say, let me share. We're all on this journey. And if I have something I've learned, let me share it with you. So it's just even this much easier. Or if only that means you feel like less alone, right? What would
Amy, we are women who run with the wolves. So
we are?
yeah. The first part was, how am I adjusting to aging? I have always, the only time I wanted to be a different age than what I was the age to get out of the house I grew up in. After that, I've been very happy and satisfied with every year that has clocked. It is kind of interesting that I'm becoming a little bit more public as the gray is coming in, as the wrinkles are in, and it's like, how am I dealing with it? I remember who I am, and it's never been about anything physical. We're old souls. Jamie, you don't like how I look. I'm so sorry if I offend you, but this is who I am, and I'm doing the best I can. But I have something that's so much more important than my physical looks or the size of my pants or, any of those things, or the amount of money in my bank account. Kind of irrelevant who I really am. And I am just like you, Jamie. I want to just share what this journey is. I don't want to be afraid to talk about age. I think this is an incredible time. I think that if we choose, we can be incredibly empowered as we age. And that's what I choose. Right now, I kind of gave up the house I was renting and I just have a room in the back of it for when I come through. I'm doing residency over here. I'm seeing family over here. I'm camping over here. I'm just changing the story. I love that. I love that. I don't care what age I am. I want to experience life. So what I would say, so how I'm doing it is just being me and not listening to the excuses and to the painful things that we can say to ourselves. And I'm just like everybody else. It happens with me. I try to catch it sooner and have compassion for myself, because how do I have compassion for anybody else and bring that through my work unless I start with myself, right? Because it'll never be truthful that comes out of me if I'm like ashamed of who I am. Like, here I am, no, no excuses. What I want women to know is that, not to the exclusion of what men are, but we are so powerful and we have a unique gift that we bring. Um, our voices have been silenced. When you think of how noisy a bunch of women really are, come on.
right?
We have been silenced for a very, very long time. And as our voices emerge, And it's our truth because everybody has a story. Everyone has their truth. As we start sharing that, we don't become these things that are put up on a trophy wife, or we're not this thing that's so delicate and can't do anything for ourselves. And maybe younger women don't even feel this, and maybe you do. It depends on your socioeconomic, all kinds of things in your background. But we need you. We need everyone to show up. Who are you? Not, don't try to be somebody else. Who you are is like the purpose of life is to figure that out and express it. And it's going to shift and spiral and expand and contract. But it's exciting and it's quite a magical journey to take.
Sam, thank you for showing up as who you are. You just model that so beautiful. Here I am. This is me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being my first interview in this new format. And thank you for sharing your story and being an inspiration.
I just want to say one thing before we go. Long ago, you ended your podcast with, and one day I might just be talking to you. And I'm like, whoa, that could be me. Oh, I don't have anything to say. So this is big deal for me. Very big deal.
I'm so excited. I love knowing that. And I just, for everybody out there who's listening, that means you too. One day I just might be talking to you.
That's right.
It is so great to be in creative conversation. I think one of the things I've learned through my interviews, but then also through devotion, is that when creative people get together and talk realness, right? Just talk heart to heart, just so much good can come of it. So many
Yeah.
sparks of inspiration, so many forward moving moments. And so I'm so happy to share that with you, Sam. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for this opportunity. And I hope everyone had a wonderful day today after you listened to this.
Yes.
Take care.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Sam as much as I did. I am just so thrilled to start this new adventure with you, and I hope you will enjoy it and also be compassionate and supportive as we find our way. Because one of the things that happened right away as I started on this new adventure and this new way of doing the podcast was I quickly realized how much I didn't know. And when I started this podcast all those years ago, I didn't know anything. I didn't know how I was going to record it. I didn't know how I was going to ask people to be on it. I didn't even know that to ask about how hosting worked at the time. And this was really before podcasting became such a thing where there's so many resources out there now. I mean, I recorded people on the phone when we started out. But at the time, what I knew was I just wanted to have creative conversations. And I wanted to have them with this whole world of people that were out there where we might be seeing their writing, but we weren't hearing their voices. And now we hear that a lot more. So that means for me, the expansive place, that place Sam was talking about, that moving into new, is to deepen the conversation and find new ways of telling these stories and bringing this inspiration to you. And I feel very creatively alive with it. And I also really have no idea where it's going or how we'll get there. So expect to see some bumps on the road, but also expect to be able to witness some growth. And I think that's something that we as creative people do for all our lives. It's who we are to keep expanding into the next deeper version of who we are and the work we have to bring to the world. Speaking of which, before I go, I just want to mention to you the devotion program that Sam and I talked about is something that I offer just a couple of times a year. It is a 3-month complete immersion in your art and embracing yourself as an artist. You come with an idea of what you want to work on, and then we build a vision at the beginning. You build a curriculum, a plan of how you're going to achieve that. I teach you some really powerful principles that will serve you in your lifetime as an artist. And then you get to work. And as you grow, it means you have a place to come, a place to have me as your coach, and ask questions when you get stuck and to share your challenges and your strategies with other artists that are doing the same. So there is such a circle of wisdom that will really give you practical knowledge, great resources, and also like that staying power. More than anything, what I find in terms of the group is that very quickly people realize that things that they felt made it difficult for them to pursue their artistic path, things that were hard, they're not alone in it. That if we say, hey, everybody, who else has felt that way? Everyone's like, it's just a part of the creative journey to have self doubt. It's just a part of the creative journey to get stuck. It's just a part of the creative journey to learn how to accept yourself and make the art that is true to you no matter what. Mm, that is like core of power that you'll be working on too. So come on over to openthedoor.ca and take a look. Registration for winter is either open. I'm recording this in advance, is either open or opening soon. But whenever you arrive, one of two things will be possible. You'll either have an opportunity to fill out an enrollment application or you'll have the ability to join the wait list. But either way, you will be just letting your heart and spirit know that there's something in you that is ready to step onto the path of artistic devotion. Thanks so much for being a part of this first episode. There's more to come with more segments and more to explore. I cannot wait to share it with you. Thanks for being here. I hope that you take a lot of this inspiration back to your studio and remember, your life is your studio. Thanks for sharing this moment.